folks, welcome to another video. And yeah, so it looks like I am pretty much caught up on my videos. Probably I got like one to upload tomorrow. If I can get this one edited, get it uploaded the next day or over the weekend, and I'll be pretty much caught up. And yeah, I haven't made a video in the last 2 weeks, and all the videos that you've seen being uploaded were videos that I shot prior weeks. So yep, get my Orzaka. Yes, this bottle in Texas. Now I haven't drank Mr. Brown coffee in a long while, so but today I'll be smoking Drew Estate Java, and this is Java Maduro. And yes, this cigar is strong, so be prepared when you're smoking it. And let me take the footband off. Now I've done it in the past where I've smoked like halfway down, and I begin to feel that I'm getting my ass kicked, and I'll go ahead and let it burn out. Get my cutter, cut it, because this is not a cheap cigar. They go for about $11 to $12 per stick. So they're not exactly cheap. And when they first came out, they were somewhere around the $7 to $8. And then they got popular, and everybody and their dog was buying them. So of course, demand. Yeah, I had the cross cut because this is a box press. As you can see, this is square. This one you can actually look. It looks like a box. And of course, when I bought these, I made a mistake of now these cigars smell really, really good. Nice, I guess the pre-lit sniff. It smells really nice. Good aroma. It is a strong cigar, so you got the coffee taste, the bitterness. Now this is one of those cigars you could probably smoke around, cigarette smokers and such, and you wouldn't get chased away because it does smell pretty nice. And you might, depending on where you're at, depending on the crowd that you're around, you might be able to smoke this around non-smokers if you're outside, and it's pretty windy. Nice smooth draw. And like I said, when I first bought, I bought like a 20 count box, and I made a mistake of putting it in a Tupperware, and I now have it in a masonry jar. I recommend for flavored cigars, and especially if you get expensive ones like the Java Maduro, is to put them in masonry jars. And go to a container store, or go to if your area has a specific masonry jar store, go to one and buy a quart size jar will fit this just fine. There's like maybe a quarter of an inch when you put the lid on and close it down. There's probably like a quarter of an inch or less than a quarter of an inch left between the end of the cigar and the lid of the of the jar. So if you buy a box of 20, you'll probably have to buy like 3 jars and put like 7 per jar. Because if you try to cram in, like I did, at first I tried cramming them in, and then I wasn't able to close the lid. You kind of have to put like a 5 to 7 per jar, kind of give it a little bit of movement room. Alright, so of course we've all seen in the news the looting and rioting that's been going on for the last 2 weeks. Of course, this has been on repeat as long as I remember, since at least since I've seen it. It's been going on a lot longer. than since '92. But for me, 1992 was the first time I've seen the looting and rioting by by black folks in burning down their neighborhoods. And it's been, and at least for me, it's been on repeat since 1992. It's like it happens for 2 weeks, and then the third week it kind of fizzles, goes away, and then he's got to wait until the next black man gets killed by a white cop, and the looting and rioting happens again. 2 weeks passes, it fades away. Of course, this time we have the white liberals out in mass, protesting, rioting and looting. Because when people come back to, oh man, I see a lot of white people. So I agree with you. I see a lot of people, a lot of white people out there, looting, rioting and looting along with the black folks. Now, of course, you got the Antifa, which of course Trump has finally labeled them, or gotten them labeled as a terrorist group. So what does that mean? That we can just go out and shoot Antifa because they're terrorists? I don't know. I guess that gives the FBI, some more leeway, some more power to go after Antifa members. Pretty much all of Portland, Oregon. Because speaking of communists, my dad, uncles, older friends, older cousins, they, back in the old country, I tell people, hey man, Asia was like the testing ground for communism. But by the communists, once they, count the Bolsheviks, you have the you have the proletariats, then you have the bourgeoisie. No, they try to make it the bourgeoisie versus the proletariats, and of course the proletariats are supposedly the working class, the little man. And if you know your history, of course, the Bolsheviks, once they got into power, of course the Bolsheviks were useful idiots. And once they got into power, and then the communists came into once the communists came into power, and then of course the military and then the military took over. First thing the communist military did was pretty much lined up the Bolsheviks, shot them dead, threw them in a ditch. And and yes, and Lenin was the one that came up with the useful idiot term, and the useful idiot he's referring to were the Bolsheviks. And yeah, the draw could be a little smoother, but it is a lengthwise is about the length of a Churchill, but I guess you can call this a Churchill. So I'll probably end up smoking this down about halfway, let it die out and cut it, and then finish it another day. Yeah, so basically my dad, uncles, older cousins, older friends, they fought against the communists. The problem is, and if you study the Vietnam War, or basically I call it the Indo-China War. It's also known as the Indo-China War because it wasn't just Vietnam that the communists were invading. They invaded Laos, Cambodia, and Burma. Thailand was the only country that pretty much, I guess they were pretty somewhat modernized and pretty much, I guess united in their cause. They're like, no, communists, get the hell out of here. So they were the only country that told the communists, to go to hell. And of course you have the Green Berets. The CIA and Green Berets came in to try to train the villagers on how to fight, because at this point, towards before everybody fled, pretty much the government has pretty much lost control. It's basically a shit hits the fan. The government's lost control, and it's pretty much each region, each village for themselves. And of course, the communists, we call them the Ainong, basically means brotherhood. So the brotherhoods, they had the full backing of the communist Chinese, and probably the back then the communist Russians, yeah, basically Soviet. What did we have? We had machetes, and yes, there were fights where it was hand-to-hand combat, machetes lopping off limbs, things like that. But of course, the communists had the RPGs, AKs, the nationals who were fighting against the communists were stuck with things like knives, machetes, old guns from World War One, probably World War Two. It's basically the bolt action. And yes, back then villagers were allowed to keep guns. It's mainly for hunting. So a lot of men had French. So a lot of the men in the villages had guns. Pretty much every house in the village had guns, but they were like old French guns from World War II. It's the bolt action, and as we all know, French guns are crap. So the men were armed and they were used to shooting. But of course, you got the communists who are militarized, fighting against a bunch of village boys. You're not going to win. So yeah, I mean, the Green Berets and stuff, they came in and they taught villagers guerrilla warfare, but it was a losing fight. I remember my uncle was talking about, yeah, man, the Air Force that we had we were using airplanes from World War II versus MiGs, and they were shooting us out of the skies, like pretty much what's called ducks in a barrel. He's like, yeah. He's saying there's no competition. we're using World War II prop planes, and they got MiGs. Chinese and Russian made MiGs. Yeah, so it was a lost cause, and yes, and then of course with the fall of Saigon, you had the huge influx of people from Indochina into the United States, and the Asians, we are pretty much, other than religion, of course, the second to Buddhism in Vietnam is Christianity, and lots of the Vietnamese who fled to the U.S. were converted Christians. And so of course they assimilated. Well, Asians basically assimilate pretty easily into any country, any culture. We'll still keep our little thing, but we're not going to be pushing. We're not going to be pushing our identity onto the wherever it is, wherever. Because a lot of folks also went to France. I know my cousins, aunts, and uncles landed in France because one, you were taught French in school, so a lot of them spoke French. So it made sense to go to France, where you already spoke the language. Well, of course, since my dad worked with the CIA, he got he got his paperwork kind of rushed through. Wasn't that quick, but he got his paperwork, and and we were able to come to the United States because again, my of course, my dad's passed away, but listening to my mom's story, because I asked her, hey, man, tell me about, when you and Dad met and, when you guys were fleeing the communists, and I've mentioned this story where they were fleeing the commies. And of course, at this point, the communists were aware of my dad. They were looking for him. So they were fleeing the north because, of course, the north's taken over, and they were fleeing to the south where my mom was from. And of course, there were communist checkpoints all along the roads, and they passed most of them until they got to the final one. And they're like, okay, your paper says you're in the north. Why are you heading south? And of course, luckily my mom was from the south, and they gave the story, hey, you know, my wife is from the South, and we're going to go visit the family, and you know, we're getting married or something like that. And yeah, and the guard, you know, luckily the guard, you know, took the story like, okay, man, you can pass, you know, and of course, what prompted them to leave the North was that, you know, my dad was at one of his cousin's house, you know, and then the next day, you know, the commies were going through the villages looking for Westerners, mainly Frenchmen and Americans. You know, and they spoke to one of my dad's cousins, like, "Hey, man, don't you have a Frenchman in your? You know, I thought I saw a Frenchman in your house. You know, he was sitting on the front porch, you know, smoking a cigarette." And my cousin's like, "No, man, that's not a Frenchman. That's my cousin. What are you talking about? He's not French." So of course, so before the communists got a chance to interrogate my dad, they took off. It's like, okay, we're out, man. We're out of here because on top of that, like I said, that they were looking for him already. And yes, for Asian, you can look at me. Now, for Asian, my dad had a pretty big nose, and he didn't have the atypical, you know, slanted eyes. Yeah, so the communists kind of mistaken him for a Frenchman. And yeah, and they were going to come and interrogate him the next day, but like I said, my dad and mom fled first, and I'm sitting here today. So yes, you know, my parents, older relatives, all fled the communists. Come to the U.S. You know, we integrated. You know, we're not building. You know, we're not trying to force Westerners. We're not trying to force white people, blacks, Mexican. You know, to our view, to our culture. We're not trying to change any law to reflect laws of Indochina or Buddhist laws. Damn bug. Yes, the majority of folks in Southeast Asia, basically the Indochina area, is Buddhism, and yeah, it is called the religion of peace, because we're taught to respect all life, even the bugs that crawls on the ground deserves to live, unless it's an ant that's trying to bite you. Then you stomp it. So yeah, so now we're seeing this, you know, so what some people are calling, you know, a attempted communist revolt. The thing is that, as I said, you know, when these things happen, it's normally 1 or 2 weeks, then it fizzes away. So next week it's going to fizz away, and you know, George Floyd is going to be forgotten until the next incident comes up. You know, and if anything, hopefully, and again, you know, police reform should not be done by the federal government. The federal government is not, you know, they're not there to police us. You know, if there's any police reform, then it needs to be done at the local level. So either the state or the city needs to change its law. First law is, of course, hopefully, cities start changing to where it's easier to get records, easier to get, kind of like the case of Mr. Tony Timpus. He died the same way that you know, George Floyd died, was his police sat on his back. You know, and in Mr. Tony Timpus's case, you know, not only did they sat on his back, but they pushed his face into the mud. You know, basically. And it's the same thing. After about 10-15 minutes, he stopped responding, he stopped breathing, and he pretty much died at the scene. And this is a white man, by the way. And it took his family's lawyers 3 years to finally get a court order to get the Dallas police to release the body cam footage. And once it was released, it was uploaded onto YouTube. There's if you type in Tony Timpus, it's Tony space Timpa. Timpa, yes, Tony Timpa. Timpa, and you can put, you know, Dallas Police, or just type his name in, and you'll get all these hits. And the video, yeah, and the video were they came out last summer around July, August. You know, no protest, no, you know, we stand for Tony Timpa marches, no looting or rioting, you know, no F the police, you know, nobody standing on the corners holding signs saying, you know, I stand by Tony. Until, of course, flash forward about 10 months, and you get the George Floyd. And of course, this is, and of course, in the case of Tony Timpa, it was a white officer, black, it was a black security guard, because the security guard apprehended him first until the police arrived. The thing with the Tony Timpa case is that the guy's a schizophrenic, you know, and he was high on coke. So the guy called the cops saying, "Hey, there's people after me. I'm scared for my life. Can you get the police out here? I'm in front of this business, which happens to be a porn store." And yes, in the area that he pulled over to, I'm pretty familiar with Dallas, which is the bad area, which is the good area, and the area that he was in was not the good area. So the story is that he went into the porn shop. It was around 10 p.m. He's you know, he has a shirt and he has his shirt and short on, but he had no shoe. And then he leaves the porn shop, and the security officer, of course, noticing him acting erratic, follows him out, sees him running across the street acting erratic. You know, runs up to the guy and I guess tackled him and handcuffed him until the police arrived. And of course, as they, you know, and in his case, they had both his hands and feet tied. His feet were tied by zip tie, and then his hands were handcuffed. And these officers were joking and laughing at the guy, you know, cracking jokes about him. And unlike George Floyd's case, you know, it's 10 o'clock at night. It's kind of in the bad side of town, so there was nobody there to take any video. So luckily the all 3 or 4 police officers had the body cam on, so you got all of these different views of hey doggy, of what happened. So yeah, so anyway, you know, because people trying to say, "Hey man, this isn't about race." I'm like, yeah, it is about race. You know, it only happens when a white officer kills a black man. And of course, you know, people saying you know, George Floyd's background, his criminal background, should not be taken into account. It's like, okay, I agree with you, but it's his criminal activity that got him an encounter with the police. You know, if the guy wasn't trying to pass, you know, if the guy wasn't trying to pass a fake $20 bill, one, he wouldn't got the cops called on him. Yeah, and he was trying to use a fake $20 bill to buy cigarettes. So it wasn't like he's, you know, down and out. You know, he needs to buy bread and milk for the kids. So, you know, he tried to pass a fake 20. Because in that case, you know, the cop shows up and says, "Hey man, you know, I got no more money. I got this fake 20. My kids are at home. They're starving. The food banks are empty, by the way. You know, in most cities, food banks are empty. You know, hey, food banks are empty. I know I need some milk. I need some bread to feed my kids." You know, the cops won't even mess with you at that point. Like, man, look, you know, here's $10. You know, buy some bread and milk for your kid, and don't do this again. But yeah, but the guy's trying to pass, you know, a fake 20 to buy cigarettes. And then there's the what's called that, the I forgot the word. People call Alex Jones conspiracy theory, because there's video missing, because the cops are saying that he's, you know, they've been wrestling with him for like 10 minutes to get him in the car until they threw him on the ground, and that's where most of us saw the video, was him on the ground with the police's knee on his neck. The problem is that part is missing. most of the videos you'll find online is it will show him, you know, it'll show him sitting on the sidewalk, you know, show the cops, you know, picking him up to walk him towards the squad car, and then he's on the ground. So there's a time I guess about 10 minutes missing, and yes, it does matter if he's, you know, if he's struggling fighting against the cops. The guy's not small, because he's not laying on the ground, and all you see is, like, you know, his bust, you know, the top of his head and his shoulder area. And of course he's lying down, so you really can't tell how big he is, even when the paramedics with guns. That's the first thing I picked up on when I first saw the videos. When the paramedics show up, I'm like, you know what? I don't remember paramedics carrying guns. Something's not right here. Yeah, the guys in the brown shirt were state troopers. So there were no paramedics, even though an ambulance, you know, the paramedics probably stayed in the car. You know, state troopers probably showed up. I don't know why. You know, and the state trooper and the police officers who were engaged with George Floyd were the one that loaded him up on the gurney. But yeah, but the guy is 6'6". He looks like he's a muscular built, so he's probably at least, you know, 250 plus. Yeah, he's muscular built. So he's a strong man, but he's 46. But I guess, you know, I guess old men can be strong too. And of course, he was hopped up on fentanyl, so that makes him strong, you know, double strong. So yeah, so we're missing that point where he's fighting the police. They're trying to get him into the. And of course, the news, not news, but I guess if you read it more, supposedly that Officer Darrell, ex-Officer Darrell, and this George Floyd worked together for 12 years as security at some bar. Like 12 years is a long time. I mean, you work 12 years with somebody, you know that person pretty well. You know, he probably knows George Floyd's, you know, family. I mean, he probably went out, you know, after work drinking with him a few times, maybe. I don't know. That will come out in the courts. But yeah, but if you work with someone for 12 years, you know that person pretty well. And I'm thinking, inhale some smoke there. Yeah, there should be a cherry there, but there's not. Yeah, I'm not puffing on this enough. Go inside, dog, unless you want to smell cigar smoke. I have a feeling there might be some background beef between this Darrell guy and George, and you know, maybe he took this chance to exact revenge. And again, we'll find that out, you know, when the court starts. You know, they're going to. I think they're going to set bail for them. They're still in jail. They get this bail hearing for all 4 officers, and you know, and they're trying to go for 2nd-degree murder. And I have a feeling they should have stuck with 3rd degree, because what's going to happen is that if you get a acquittal or a not guilty, it's going to be another riot. You know, people are going to protest, riot, and loot again. You know, it's going to be like George Zimmerman. They went, I think in the case of George Zimmerman, Zimmer, whatever his name is, I think they did the same thing. They went for 2nd-degree murder, and they couldn't prove it. And I don't know what is needed. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a prosecutor. I'm not a criminal defense attorney. I guess I can look it up. You guys can look it up too. But yeah, if they want these guys to see the inside of a jail cell, my opinion is they should go for 3rd degree, and that way you can definitely get it to stick. You know, it's kind of like it's kind of like it's kind of like I guess in football, it's, you know, 3rd and 10, you know, or actually, yes, 3rd and 10, and it's less than 2 minutes in the fourth quarter. Well, you can go for a 5 to 7 yard quick pickup pass. Just have just have your wide receivers running quick out. You get them 5 to 7 yards, or hand the ball to the if you got a good running back, hand the ball to the running back. Get 5, 6, 7 yards, and then you have a chance. A 4th and 3, where you can actually get a first down. What they're trying to do is it's 3rd and 10. It's less than 2 minutes in the fourth quarter. They're trying to go for all 10 yards, and yes, there is a chance that you'll get to 10 yards, but you have a higher likelihood of getting 5 yards than all 10. Yeah, now it's drawing a lot smoother. Yeah, football analogy. All right, I'll close it on this. So as it turns out, the Asian guy is his brother-in-law, and I guess he's married to the Asian guy's sister, who of course, promptly divorced him. I don't blame her. And yeah, there is a pretty big Asian population in the Minneapolis-St. Paul, and on top of that, there's a pretty big Hmong population. Now, a little history on the Hmong. The Hmong are basically the hill folks. They live up in the hills in Thailand and Laos. They don't consider themselves Lao or Thai. They don't like it if you call them Lao or Thai. They'll take offense to it. Of course, when it came out, and the news was labeling her as a Lao lady, of course, the Lao community got out in the forums. They're like, yeah, she's not Laos. The Hmongs don't consider themselves Lao, and they take offense if you call them Lao or call them Thai. The only time they'll take being called Laos or Thai is when something bad's happened. If something good happened, they're like, we are Hmong. We're not. They are considered, I guess, depending on who you talk to, but they are considered the indigenous people. But there are other groups in the mountains or in the countryside also that are considered indigenous people. And yes, and they have their own language. I know my grandmother, when she was still alive, may she rest in peace. And of course, as a kid, I didn't really understand what she was doing, but and yes, the city people, they do. I don't know if they look down, but they kind of make, because the Hmong don't want to integrate, basically. Yeah, they don't want to integrate. They don't want to integrate with the Lao people or the Thai people. They stay up in their mountain villages. But yeah, but my grandmother would make fun. It's like, you sound like you're speaking so fast. You sound like one of those hill people, or one of those Hmong people. One of those Hmong hillbillies. She called them Hmong hillbillies. And yeah, they have their own language. Okay, well, that's it. So hopefully this coming up weekend, next week, it'll fade away, it'll die away. This, and I've said it, you can't win a revolution on feelings. And yes, I know the liberal elites are the one that's funding, especially these Antifa terrorists and these millennial soy boys. Even though they're not part of Antifa, they're still taking the funding from Soros. People are saying they're shipping in bricks. I was like, okay, I wouldn't put it past them. Bricks are not cheap. If you buy a pallet of bricks, it's about $500 to $1,000. And wood's not cheap either. If you buy a whole stack of 2x4x6, which is 6 foot long 2x4s, because that's what I saw a lot of them doing, swinging those big 2x4s around. I don't know where they got them from, but a big stack of 2x4 will cost you again around $500 to $1,000. So yes, it takes some billionaire backing And of course, there's coordination. There seems to be coordination. People are saying that, of course, they're being watched. People are saying that they're sending scouts out into the suburbs. They're out there holding their sign. We come in peace. No justice, no peace. We come in peace. And a lot of people are noting that they're noting these people writing down notes. They're looking at the stores. They're looking at where the police stations are at, and they're writing down notes. So yeah, so if you see these small, 5 to 10 group of supposed protesters out in your suburb, those are scouts. They're out there taking notes of what kind of stores here, where's the police station at, where's the fire station at. And yeah, and if you see them, tell them to get the hell out of there. It's like, he's like, I know what you're up to. Get the hell out of my town. You're not here to scout out my town to burn it. Yes, and I saw that video of yes, and of course people were saying that the police were burning the I guess last month, not this month, but last Monday when it first started. People were saying that the police were out there burning AutoZone, out there burning Target. And the only video that the one video I saw, and there's no videos showing, I guess, well, anyway, the one video I saw is about a 10-second video. It's some guy dressed in all black, and he has an umbrella. He has that pink gas mask that I see a lot of the looters and rioters wearing. And he's not setting AutoZone on fire. The glass window of the AutoZone was already broken. The video that I saw just showed him, walking up, and with a hammer or whatever in his hand, he was breaking. He was breaking whatever piece of glasses that weren't broke already. And then a lady comes up and confronts him, and he walks off. That guy is just a sociopath. More than likely he's probably Antifa. And no, he's not the police. And even if he was the police, he didn't set AutoZone on fire. But more than likely he's either a sociopath or Antifa guy that's out there. But yeah, the police wasn't setting anything on fire. How you doing, dog? Okay, and oh yeah, let's see here. What else? Yeah, I'll end it on that. I do thank you, and enjoy your smoke. If you live out in the suburb, watch out for those protesters or Antifa scouts, especially if you're in California. Let's see, North Carolina. I'm trying to think of all the places where of course here in Texas we got Dallas and Houston, but they're not going to be coming out to the suburbs because yeah, pretty much everybody out in the suburbs got guns. Oh yes, and there was a video of I guess supposed Black Lives Matters marching down this suburb street, and of course lining the suburb all these white folks with their AR-15. And yes, and there was a police car at the. It was like a 5-second video clip. I was like, yeah, that's the way you need to do it. If they come out to your suburb, get with your neighbor. Like, man, let's go out there with a show of force. Bring whatever you got. If it's the Mossberg 500, bring out your Mossberg. Bring out your 1911 if you got them. If you got your AR-15, bring it out. Whatever you got. If you don't have anything, go out there anyway as a show of force. It's like, hey, we're not messing around with you people. You start smashing storefronts, we're going to start putting bullets on you. And of course, in these blue cities, these liberal cities, the police are being told to stand down. And of course, the city of Minneapolis, they're actually going to disband their police. I don't know what they're going to replace the police with. Are they going to handpick? Are they going to handpick their own people? Are they going to go through the police force and go, okay, all black officers, you get to stay. All white officers, you're fired. Yeah, good luck with that. The police union is going to be all over your ass. Yeah, and part of the problem is the police union too, with the withholding information when someone dies in police custody. It's very hard, and and from what I read from I guess attorneys and stuff, they're like it's very hard to get a case against a police officer for use of excessive force when someone's in their custody, or even if someone dies. It's very hard to get a case against a police officer, and yeah, and that needs to change. Uh, if anything, that part needs to change where there is a freedom of, yeah, there is the Freedom of Information Act where you can get information from the police. Of course, your attorney is going to get that information. Lawyer up, of course. But yeah, if anything, that would be the number one thing I would push for is more transparency. That's what that's what I was trying to think of. If anything comes out of this, have a more transparency between the police department and the people that pays them, their boss, us, the taxpayer that pays the police. More transparency. So if someone, gets beaten up to a pulp while they're in police custody, or worse, gets killed, there needs to be a transparency. Like, okay, here's the police body cam. There's a store camera here. There's a street corner camera. Have all that released, and of course, normally when this happens, the news are the first one to pick it up and put it out, and of course put it out to the public knowledge. So, all right, there you go. I'll end that, and again, enjoy your stick. This is a good cigar. It's pricey, but I smoke it. I keep it for like smoke every now and then. Until next time, stay safe. Watch out for those vigilantes. Well, they're not vigilantes, the riders. Watch out for the riders coming to your suburb, and just keep safe and don't get infected. Because oh yes, there was a news article I read where there was like 21,000 infection, a jump in 21,000 coronavirus infections since the looting and rioting started. So yeah, so stay safe. All right, thank you, and until next time.